When the world goes silent and it's just you in your own mind, that's when the truth reveals itself. Most people are terrified of that silence because it strips away distractions. It strips away the fake smiles, the noise, the opinions of others, and forces you to face yourself. But that silence is not your enemy. It's your power. You see, peace and happiness don't come from the crowd cheering your name. They don't come from validation. They don't come from someone holding your hand and telling you that you're enough. True peace comes when you can sit alone in a room, hear nothing but your own breathing, and still feel complete. The reason so many people chase temporary highs is because they never built the strength to enjoy their own company. But if you master solitude, if you learn to love yourself when no one else is watching, you will never beg for scraps of attention again. Happiness is not in the noise. It's in the stillness. And when you learn that, nothing and no one can ever control your peace. Because once you find happiness within, you become unbreakable. Solitude is not weakness, it's strength. The world has tricked most people into believing that being alone is a punishment, a sign that something is wrong with you, that you are unloved or unwanted. But the truth is, solitude is the greatest opportunity you will ever have to build yourself into something unshakable. Weakness is needing constant noise, constant company, and constant distractions to feel alive. Strength is being able to stand alone with no one around and still feel powerful because you know who you are and what you stand for. Solitude is where you discover the voice inside you that the world tries to drown out. When you are alone, you begin to separate your own desires from the expectations others placed on you. You stop living for applause and you start living for purpose. And that's when you begin to realize that the strongest people on earth are not the ones surrounded by a crowd, but the ones who can carry themselves when nobody is watching. Being comfortable in solitude is like training in silence for a battle no one else knows you're fighting. Most people are terrified to sit alone in their thoughts because they're forced to confront the parts of themselves they've been running from. They would rather numb themselves with noise, with social media, with meaningless conversations, with shallow validation, just so they don't have to look in the mirror of their own soul. But when you embrace solitude, you learn to face those demons, you learn to conquer them. You begin to turn your pain into power because no one is there to rescue you but yourself. That is strength. To rise up when there is no hand to pull you, no shoulder to lean on, only your will and your vision. People call solitude loneliness, but loneliness is not about the absence of people. It's about the absence of connection with yourself. If you can't sit with yourself for an hour without needing to be entertained, then you don't truly know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, how can you ever expect the world to respect you? Solitude teaches you self-respect. It teaches you self-discipline. When there's nobody watching, that's when your true habits are born. Are you using the time to grow, to sharpen your mind, to build your body, to craft your vision, or are you wasting it? Solitude exposes the truth of your character. And here's the secret. The people who achieve greatness in any field are the ones who mastered solitude. The athlete training in the dark before the lights ever hit him. The writer who spends endless nights alone with nothing but words and vision. The entrepreneur who works when everyone else is partying. The warrior who sharpens his sword long before the enemy arrives. They all understand that solitude is not emptiness. It's preparation. It's the forge where steel is made. You cannot be strong if you are dependent on others for your happiness. The moment you need constant validation, you are weak, you are fragile, you are owned by the approval of others. But if you find joy in being alone, you become untouchable. People can leave, opinions can change, the world can turn its back on you, and yet you stand firm, unbroken, because your peace comes from within. That's the power of solitude. It gives you independence of spirit. It gives you the kind of strength that no one can take away. Understand this, solitude is not about isolation from the world forever. It's about building such a solid foundation in yourself that when you do step into the world, you are unshaken by its storms. It's about becoming so rooted in your identity that no rejection, no betrayal, no loss can destroy you. When you embrace solitude, you carry yourself with a presence that demands respect because people can sense that you don't need them, you choose them. And there is nothing more powerful than being someone who is complete alone, but still strong enough to share that completeness with others. Most people live their whole lives running from themselves. They jump from one relationship to another, one party to another, one distraction to another, just to avoid being left alone with their own reflection. But when you train yourself to be comfortable in solitude, you no longer fear the silence. You welcome it because you know silence is where the answers live. Silence is where you hear your inner voice guiding you. Silence is where you plan, where you heal, where you grow, where you rise. So never confuse solitude with weakness. Weakness is needing a crowd just to feel alive. Strength is being able to stand alone and feel unstoppable. Weakness is losing yourself when others leave. Strength is remaining whole even when everyone walks away. Weakness is drowning in silence. Strength is mastering it, shaping it, and using it as fuel. If you want to build an unbreakable spirit, stop fearing solitude. Embrace it. Use it. Turn it into your weapon. Because the man or woman who finds strength in solitude becomes untouchable. They cannot be broken, they cannot be manipulated, and they cannot be stopped. And once you reach that level, you don't just survive, you dominate. You become the kind of person who doesn't need peace from the world because you've already built it within yourself. That is true strength. That is what makes solitude the most powerful force you can ever embrace. External validation is temporary, inner peace is permanent. The truth is, most people spend their entire lives chasing approval like addicts chasing their next high. They crave likes on social media, compliments from strangers, applause from crowds, and validation from people who don't even care about them. And every time they get it, they feel a temporary rush, a fleeting sense of importance. But like any drug, the effect fades, and soon they need more, begging again for attention, desperate to be noticed. That is the cycle of weakness. When your happiness is placed in the hands of others, if they clap, you smile. If they ignore you, you crumble. That is no way to live. Because the truth is, external validation will always disappear. People change, opinions shift, crowds move on. One moment you're their hero, the next moment you're forgotten. If your entire worth depends on that, you will forever be a slave to the judgments of others. The inner peace, that is permanent. Inner peace is when you no longer care whether they cheer for you or boo you, whether they acknowledge you or dismiss you. Inner peace is when you can look at yourself in the mirror and know that you are enough without anyone else's approval. It is the power to walk into a room and not need to be the loudest, not need to be the most noticed, because you already feel whole within. It's a freedom that very few people ever experience because they're too busy tying their self-worth to external applause. External validation is dangerous because it makes you dependent. It means your emotions are controlled by people who don't even live your life. You give strangers the power to decide if you're worthy. You let critics, family, friends, even enemies hold the keys to your peace of mind. That's why people are so easily broken. One insult, one rejection, one failure, and they collapse. Not because they are truly weak, but because they allowed their sense of worth to rest in something temporary, fragile, and unstable. But when you shift your focus inward, when you start building peace within yourself, no one has that power over you anymore. You take the wheel back. You decide. Building inner peace is not about being arrogant or shutting out the world. It's about creating a foundation so strong that no matter what happens outside, your inside remains unshaken. People can praise you and you smile. People can insult you and you still smile. Why? Because your happiness is no longer chained to their words. When your peace is internal, life feels lighter. You stop stressing about who likes you, who supports you, who claps for you. You stop begging for love because you already gave it to yourself. And the moment you do that, you become untouchable. Think of all the times you achieved something and waited for people to recognize it. You wanted congratulations, acknowledgement, maybe even envy. And when you didn't get it, your achievement suddenly felt smaller, less valuable. But the reality is, it wasn't less valuable. It was only your dependence on external validation that poisoned the experience. Real success is when you achieve something and feel proud, whether the world notices or not. Real strength is when you know your worth, even if nobody tells you. Real peace is when your soul is calm, even in silence. External validation is temporary because it depends on the moods, opinions, and emotions of others. And those are unstable. Today they may admire you, tomorrow they may criticize you. If you live for their validation, you will ride a roller coaster of emotions forever. But inner peace is permanent because it comes from within, from alignment between who you are and who you choose to be. It comes from values, from discipline, from self-respect. Nobody can take that away from you unless you hand it over. But here's the paradox. Once you stop chasing external validation, that's when real respect begins to come your way. People are drawn to those who don't beg for attention. They sense strength in those who are calm, centered, and independent. The less you need approval, the more you naturally earn it. But by then, it won't even matter because your happiness won't depend on it. That is true freedom. Imagine this. You wake up every day with no need to prove yourself, no need to impress, no need to seek applause. You simply live your life, focus on your goals, grounded in your values, at peace with yourself. No rejection can break you. No praise can corrupt you. No silence can scare you. That is what it means to live with permanent inner peace. That is what makes you powerful. External validation will always come and go like shadows in the wind, but inner peace, once built, stays with you forever. It is the shield that protects you from chaos, the anchor that holds you steady in storms, the fire that keeps burning no matter how cold the world becomes. If you want true strength, stop chasing approval, stop begging for attention, stop living for the opinions of others. Instead, build that unshakable peace inside. Learn to validate yourself. Learn to be proud of yourself. Learn to love yourself without permission. Because when you master that, you will no longer be a slave to temporary validation. You will become the master of permanent peace. You're learning to love your own company builds unshakable confidence. Most people never understand this truth because they are addicted to being surrounded by others, afraid of what it feels like to be left alone with themselves. They crave constant chatter, constant distraction, constant noise, because silence exposes them. They can't sit with their own thoughts without feeling restless, and that is exactly why their confidence is fragile. If you cannot enjoy your own company, then you don't truly trust yourself. You don't fully know yourself. And if you don't know yourself, how can you possibly stand strong in the world? Confidence doesn't come from the crowd clapping for you. Confidence doesn't come from having people around you 24/7. True confidence comes from being able to stand alone, look around and say, I am enough. Loving your own company means you are comfortable in your own skin. You don't need constant approval, entertainment, or distraction because you genuinely enjoy who you are. And when you reach that point, you become unstoppable. Because most people fear loneliness, but you thrive in it. While others panic in silence, you find peace. While others beg for attention, you create power. Confidence built from within cannot be shaken by outside force. It cannot be broken by rejection, by betrayal, or by isolation, because you already built a relationship with yourself that is stronger than any relationship with others. Think about it. Most people's self-worth collapses the moment they are left alone. They start to feel empty, unworthy, invisible. But what if instead of seeing solitude as emptiness, you saw it as opportunity, the chance to learn, to grow, to create, to strengthen yourself? That shift in perspective changes everything. When you learn to love your own company, solitude no longer feels like a punishment. It feels like freedom. You are free to think without interruption, to dream without judgment, to heal without noise, to create without permission. That is where true confidence is born. Confidence isn't loud, isn't about boasting or trying to prove something to others. Confidence is quiet power. It's walking into a room and not needing to be the center of attention because you are already centered within yourself. It's standing tall even when nobody notices because you don't need them to notice. It's knowing that whether people love you or hate you, you remain the same. That kind of confidence only comes from learning to enjoy your own presence. When you love your own company, you stop being desperate for relationships that drain you. You stop tolerating fake friendships built on shallow approval. You stop clinging to people just to fill a void inside. Instead, you start choosing connections from strength, not desperation. You no longer ask, who will keep me company? You ask, who deserves my company? And that mindset shift alone is a superpower because it means you no longer accept less than you deserve. That is unshakable confidence. People often think confidence comes from how others see you, your looks, your status, your possessions, but those things can disappear in a moment. Real confidence comes from how you see yourself when it's just you in the mirror, no filters, no audience, no distractions. Can you look at yourself and feel proud of the person you are becoming? Can you enjoy being alone with your thoughts without needing to escape? If the answer is yes, then you are already stronger than most because the world is full of people who can't handle their own reflection. Learning to love your own company doesn't mean you shut the world out forever. It means you master yourself first so that when you do step into the world, you carry a presence that cannot be ignored. People sense when someone is comfortable in their own skin. They sense when someone doesn't need approval to feel worthy, and they are drawn to that energy. Ironically, the more you love your own company, the more powerful you become in the company of others. You don't chase attention, and that's exactly why attention chases you. But you have to be willing to go through the discomfort first. The discomfort of sitting in silence, of facing your own flaws, of learning to accept the parts of yourself you used to hide. That process is hard. It takes courage, but once you go through it, you come out on the other side untouchable. Because confidence built from within cannot be shaken by anyone or anything. So ask yourself, can you sit alone for hours and feel at peace? Can you laugh at your own jokes, enjoy your own thoughts, and create your own joy? If you can, you have already built the foundation of true confidence, because the person who loves their own company will never beg for someone else's presence to feel complete. They will never lose themselves in a crowd, never fear rejection, never crumble when left alone. They are whole, And wholeness is the root of confidence. Learning to love your own company is not just about enjoying solitude. It's about mastering yourself. And once you master yourself, there is nothing left to fear. You become your own source of strength, your own source of happiness, your own source of validation. And when you reach that point, you have something that nobody can take away: unshakable confidence. Silence reveals truth that distractions try to hide. Most people run from silence as if it were a threat. They fear the stillness of their own mind because it strips away the noise they use to hide from themselves. They drown their lives in music, endless scrolling, conversations that mean nothing, parties that leave them empty, and relationships that distract them from facing reality. But silence is the place where the truth waits. Silence doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't cover your weaknesses. It exposes you. It shows you the raw reality of who you are, what you want, and what you're avoiding. And that's why so many people resist it, because they don't want to face themselves. Yet silence is not the enemy. Silence is the mirror that reveals the answers you've been searching for. The world is designed to distract you, to keep you chasing external noise, so you never build internal strength. But the moment you sit in silence with no phone, no music, no conversation, no noise, you start hearing the voice inside you that's been drowned out for years. That voice tells you what you truly want, what you truly need, what you've been ignoring. It tells you what needs to change. And though that truth might hurt, it is the only path to freedom. In silence, you can no longer escape responsibility. The excuses fall away. The blame games disappear. You are left face to face with the truth of your life. Are you where you want to be? Are you living the way you promised yourself? Are you becoming the person you are meant to be? These questions echo louder in silence because there is nothing else to cover them. And once you hear them, you can no longer pretend you don't know the truth. That's why silence is powerful. It forces clarity. Think about it. When you are constantly distracted, your life feels busy but hollow. You convince yourself that scrolling for hours is relaxation, that talking endlessly is connection, that staying entertained is happiness. But deep down, you know it isn't. You know there's a gap, a hollowness you keep covering up. Silence rips the cover away and makes you face it. And though it feels uncomfortable, it is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Because once you face the truth, you can change it. You can finally start building the life you actually want, instead of numbing yourself to the life you're tolerating. Greatness has always been built in silence. The strongest ideas, the deepest self-realizations, the most powerful growth moments, they don't come from endless noise. They come from quiet reflection, from sitting still, from listening to your own soul. The warrior sharpens his mind in silence before the battle. The leader finds direction in silence before giving commands. The creator finds inspiration in silence before giving the world their art. Silence has always been the birthplace of strength. But because silence forces you to face your own flaws, most people run from it. They'd rather live blind than deal with truth. They'd rather drown in distractions than sit still with themselves. That is why so many remain stuck, repeating the same cycles, never growing, never breaking free. They refuse to listen to silence, so they never hear the truth. But those who embrace silence, they rise. They become stronger, wiser, and clearer. They separate themselves from the crowd because they dared to hear what others were too afraid to face. Silence also teaches control. When you practice silence, you realize you don't need to react to everything. You don't need to fill every moment with words, noise, or validation. You learn to pause, to observe, to think before you move. That self-control is strength. It keeps you calm in chaos, grounded in storms, steady when others panic. Silence builds discipline because it trains you to sit still with yourself without reaching for distractions. And when you master that, you master your mind. Silence is also healing. When the world is loud, your soul is restless. But when you enter silence, your mind begins to repair itself. Your emotions begin to settle. Your spirit begins to breathe again. Many of the wounds you carry are never healed because you keep covering them with noise. But when you allow yourself silence, you give yourself the space to process, to release, to let go, to rebuild. Healing cannot happen in constant chaos. Healing requires silence. The truth is, silence is a weapon. It's not just peace, it's power. When you can sit in silence and be at peace, you are already stronger than most. You are no longer dependent on noise to feel alive. You don't need validation, entertainment, or distraction. You can sit alone in stillness and feel complete. And when you reach that point, you can no longer be manipulated by the noise of the world because you've built clarity within yourself. So stop fearing silence. Stop running from it. Stop thinking it means emptiness. Silence is where truth lives, and truth is the foundation of freedom. In silence, you will find answers no one else can give you. You will uncover strength you never knew you had. You will heal wounds you've been carrying for years, and you will finally see the path that endless distractions have been hiding from you. Silence reveals what distractions try to bury. It reveals your flaws, your desires, your fears, and your potential. And once you face that truth, you become unshakable. Because the person who can sit in silence and hear their own soul is the person who can walk through the loudest chaos and remain at peace. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is truth. And once you embrace it, you will never again be blinded by distractions. True happiness is built within, not found outside. This is one of the hardest truths for people to accept because the world constantly sells the opposite. From the moment you are young, you are told that happiness will come when you achieve something external. When you buy the car, when you wear the right clothes, when you earn the money, when you find the recognition. And so people spend their entire lives chasing, running endlessly after things, believing that once they get them, they will finally feel whole. But here's the painful truth. Nothing outside of you can ever fill the emptiness inside of you. The moment you build your happiness on external things, you become a slave to them. The moment they disappear, your happiness disappears with them. That's why so many people keep climbing mountains only to feel hollow at the top. They thought success would make them happy, but instead they discovered that they brought their emptiness with them. Happiness built outside is always temporary. It's fragile. It's conditional. It depends on circumstances you cannot control. People who live for external happiness are forever at the mercy of life. If people like them, they smile. If people criticize them, they break. If money flows, they feel confident. If money disappears, they collapse. If love comes, they feel alive. If love leaves, they feel worthless. That is not happiness. That is dependency. True happiness is built when you stop looking outside and start building within. It's when you realize that happiness is not something to be found, it's something to be created. When happiness is built within, you become free. You are no longer chained to possessions, opinions, or conditions. You don't need the world to be perfect to feel peace. You don't need constant validation to feel worthy. You don't need everything to go your way to feel joy. Your happiness becomes permanent because it is anchored in something unshakable, yourself. It comes from self-respect, from discipline, from knowing you are living true to your value. It comes from gratitude for life itself, not for what you can extract from it. And that kind of happiness cannot be stolen by circumstances. People chase happiness in material possessions, but possessions always lose their shine. You buy the car, and after a few months, it feels ordinary. You move into the house, and soon it becomes just walls around you. You get the expensive clothes, but trends change and the thrill fades. People also chase happiness in relationships, but no partner can carry the weight of your emptiness forever. If you enter love empty, you will drain the other person, and when they cannot fill you anymore, you will feel betrayed. People chase happiness in achievements, but the moment one goal is reached, another appears, and the chase continues endlessly. That's why external happiness is an illusion. It never lasts. But inner happiness is different. Inner happiness comes when you know who you are and you're at peace with it. It comes when you take responsibility for your life instead of blaming the world. It comes when you stop waiting for permission to feel worthy and decide that you already are. It comes when you learn to enjoy simple things, the sound of silence, the strength of your body, the clarity of your mind, the fact that you are alive. When you build happiness within, even the smallest things bring joy because your joy is not tied to them. It flows from you. Building happiness within requires work. It's not about sitting and hoping. It's about self-discipline, self-discovery, and self-mastery. You build inner happiness when you take care of your health, when you keep promises to yourself, when you grow stronger each day. You build it when you forgive yourself for the past and focus on the present. You build it when you stop chasing approval and live in alignment with your own truth. Every step you take toward mastering yourself adds to the foundation of happiness that no storm can destroy. And here's the paradox. Once you build happiness within, external things begin to mean more. The car, the house, the success, they still matter, but they no longer define you. You enjoy them without being enslaved by them. You can lose them without losing yourself. You can love deeply without becoming desperate. You can succeed greatly without being consumed by ego. Because your happiness is already intact. External things become bonuses, not necessities. True happiness is not built by stacking possessions, but by strengthening perspective. It is not found in applause, but in authenticity. It is not given by others, but chosen by you. The strongest, most unshakable people in this world are not those who have the most, but those who need the least. They walk through life calm, steady, fulfilled, not because the world gave them happiness, but because they built it themselves. So stop chasing happiness like it's somewhere out there waiting for you. Stop believing the lie that the next thing, the next achievement, the next relationship will finally make you whole. You already have what you need. Happiness is not a destination. It is a construction. You build it every day by how you live, how you think, and how you treat yourself. And once you build it within, No one can take it away. That is why true happiness will never be found outside. It is and always will be built inside of you. And so the truth becomes clear. Peace and happiness are never gifts handed to you by the world. They are forged within you. Solitude is strength, not weakness. External validation fades like smoke, but inner peace remains like stone. Learning to love your own company makes you unshakable because you no longer fear being alone. Silence, though uncomfortable, reveals truths that distractions keep buried. And above all, real happiness is not found in possessions, people, or applause. It is built within, brick by brick, through self-respect, discipline, and authenticity. The world will try to pull you into its noise, convince you that you are incomplete, make you chase things that leave you emptier every time. But you do not have to play that game. You have the power to step back, to embrace solitude, to listen to silence, to love yourself, and to create happiness from the inside out. That is where true freedom begins. Because once you master your inner world, nothing outside of you can break you. And when you reach that place, you will understand the greatest truth of all. You are never searching for peace and happiness. You are only searching for yourself.